What is up, everybody? Look, we're gonna kick off the show because there's major news alert that is very concerning, and we need to talk about it. Micah and Carrier here, but obviously,
what's up?
Micah has more stake in this than Carrier does, probably.
I mean, I like the franchise.
Yeah, but you don't you're not like making a fucking podcast about all these goddamn movies.
No. But I've participated on that.
That's
podcast.
True. Yeah. That's true. Which episode did you do? I can't remember. Quantum of Solace,
and then wasn't there also like the tournament of theme songs that I was?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, well,
yeah,
of course,
you are.
Of course, we're talking about the biggest news in Dense Pixels this week, and that is the fact that apparently Amazon now has full creative control over the James Bond film and maybe more franchise.
Maybe.
Well, if the news, so for those that don't know the lineage of the Bond franchise, the Broccoli family, first Cubby Broccoli, and then his stepson Michael Wilson and his daughter Barbara Broccoli have controlled the Bond franchise since its inception in film, which is dated over 60 years, which is really fucking remarkable in this day and age for such a prolific franchise to be under the guise of one family, basically, and not have gotten sold a long time ago to some studio. So, like I said, amazing that we even got this far. The reason why nothing has really happened in the Bond franchise since No Time to Die came out is because there's been a like a battle between Amazon MGM. I did not realize that that MGM had been bought by an Amazon, but they were, and the Broccoli families, because of course Amazon wanted to do what Amazon is wont to do, and that is make a bunch of fucking James Bond content, including spin-offs, and make a whole James Bond cinematic universe, and probably like an animated show where they have James Bond's nephew be the star, but it's called James Bond Jr. for some reason. Things of that nature that they wanted to do to basically milk it for all it's worth. And the Broccoli's, wisely, were like, that's probably not a good idea, because one of the reasons that the franchise has been so venerable is because it hasn't been hoarded out and milked for every dime that you can possibly get from it. But apparently the Broccoli's watch has ended. I'm sure they were paid a shitload of money. Plus, they're getting older. Michael G. Wilson is in his 80s. Barbara Broccoli is in her 60s. Both of them have pretty much spent their entire adult lives being like the stewards of the James Bond franchise. I'd imagine that they might like to do something else, or maybe nothing else, and just kind of fucking chill. But yeah, now Amazon can do whatever the fuck they want with the James Bond franchise, which probably means we'll get more James Bond stuff. But I don't know if it's going to be stuff that we necessarily want.
This is me realizing I still haven't seen No Time to Die.
You should. It's very good.
I've heard it was really good. Yeah, I guess I have watched other James Bond films since Spectre came out. Spectre was, I think, the last one that I saw in theaters. Mm-hmm. And then I went back and I've watched other Bond films in the decade since that movie came out. But yeah, I never saw No Time to Die. I'll put that on the list.
This is sad, man. This is sad. Terrence, when I was talking to him, he equated this to Walmart buying up a mom and pop. And,
yeah.
And I get the sentiment, but the mom and pop is the James Bond franchise. It's not exactly.
I mean, here's the thing though, in the grand scheme of things, it is kind of similar in so much that media consolidation is such a thing right now, where everything is just owned by a handful of companies, and Amazon, of course, happens to be one of those companies. So they just want to Bezos just wants to own everything. That dude needs to be beaten with hammers.
What do you think? I was talking on the Nerdpocalypse about this, and they don't care, right? They're uncouth, right? But I immediately, I think cynically about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this big corporation is gonna big corporate, right? Like
Right.
they're gonna take this and they're gonna make a Money Penny film. They're gonna make an M film. They're gonna make a Money Penny series.
They're gonna make a Q
M
series.
They're gonna make a Q series, right?
Right.
Like they're gonna go through they're gonna invent different letters to throw in there.
Right.
Like
The
not
Double O
gonna be-
saga. We'll see the trials and tribulations of all the other Double O agents that are in MI6.
Yeah. Like James Bond's gonna be American, right? Like it's gonna be wild. And Jeff Bezos' first thing he did was, "Who would you like to see?" Right now, one of the things that that this family did is they cast people to play James Bond that they thought outside the box. The only time that they didn't really think outside the box, I think, is with Pierce Brosnan, because
That's
he
fair.
feels like a James Bond.
I
Right?
mean, he quite famously was going to be James Bond before Timothy Dalton was, until NBC re-upped Remington Steele, and then he wasn't available to
Right.
do Living Daylights. So
Right, but and even when they do kind of pick a Timothy Dalton who also feels like a James Bond type, those two movies were like radical, right? Like James Bond was on full tilt, right? Like my buddy's dead. He got eaten by a shark. I'm killing everybody, right? Like this was wild, right? So, but I feel like this is going to be. He said who would you like to see play James Bond? And what do you think the unwashed masses chose to play James Bond? Who's the first name that you think that the unwashed masses that, one, followed Jeff Bezos, and two, and who was the first name that you think they said, "Oh, this guy could be a perfect James Bond"?
probably Henry Cavill, if I had to guess.
Bingo, fucking go.
No, exactly.
Like the one British dude that
The one British dude that they know.
Right.
Right. And it's like, okay, look, I don't have anything against Henry Cavill. I think he's a serviceable actor. He was fun in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., right?
He was
But-
fun in The Man
A
from
movie
U.N.C.L.E.
that
That's
Mike
a
and I
good movie.
famously like a lot. Like, we reviewed it on the show. We both really enjoyed that
I
movie.
believe you guys reviewed that on the show, and I wasn't part of it.
I actually
I
really
that
like
movie
that.
quite a lot.
I like that movie, man. But it's another thing to be in that movie. It's one thing to be in that movie, and it's another to be James Bond, right? Because James Bond comes with a lot of, it comes with decades and decades and decades of baggage, and also it's not thinking outside the box. It's just it's gonna be the most like paint by numbers. I won't say it'll be a Netflix film, but
we're about to get a series of Die Another Days. Is basically what is my biggest fear. Like that kind of that's kind of the fear. And to Micah's point, like the Bond franchise famously has cast non-A-listers. Like you could even argue like the most notable casting that they did was Pierce Brosnan, but even when they cast him, I wouldn't go as far to say that Pierce Brosnan was an A-list actor when he was cast to play.
No,
James
I
Bond.
want to say, in the grand scheme of things, Pierce Brosnan was given like his like first major media audience through the James Bond.
Right. I mean, prior to Bond, like his most notable movie had been like The Lawnmower Man. So like that, it's not like that he was a superstar before James Bond came along. Like James Bond elevated his
what
profile.
else did he do? Lawnmower Man and Mrs. Doubtfire.
And Mrs. Doubtfire. Those are the two things. And Remington Steele. Like those are the three things he was the most known for.
Yeah, he was
franchise.
Remington Steele was it, because like that's he was in, that was a long running television, but it was a television series, right?
Correct.
That's different from being a film star.
Very much. And actually that put him
especially in
similar
the
to like
80s.
Roger Moore. Like Roger Moore was a television star before he was James Bond.
Right.
So famously, like they have not ever cast like A-list actors. Like James Bond has been a role that has propelled people to becoming A-list actors. But they have always gone to Micah. So as Micah said, they've always kind of looked outside the box. I don't think you're going to see that anymore. I think they're going to find the most bankable fucking dude that they possibly can in order to cast him in that role to get as many eyeballs as they possibly can. And that's going to ruin it, because one of the things that has always helped the James Bond franchise is because typically, like, who they cast as Bond, you don't come in with any preconceived opinions on, really, because they hadn't been in any like super notable roles. That's going to go away, because you could kind of they could kind of impart James Bond onto you. Whereas, like, if they cast Henry Cavill, like, the dude was Superman, he was
Superman. He was The Witcher, like, it's going to be him or like Tom Hardy. Like,
Tom Hardy would be another. Absolutely, they would pick him to do that as well. Yeah, those two, if I had to guess, would be Amazon's like leading front runners.
Yeah,
in order to do this. So again, it feels like this was inevitable. Like I don't see how the Broccoli's could have kept it in the family in perpetuity. Eventually, pressure's too high, money's too great to kind of ward that off. But it still sucks. It still just fucking sucks ass.
Yeah, can you imagine like the debut of a new James Bond? You gotta pay for Prime to see it. Like, it just, I don't know, man. This doesn't, and also, like, I like some Amazon shows, I do, but some of them, some shows and some movies are hit and miss, right? Like, even within the franchise, right? Like, that Jack Ryan show, I think is pretty good. But the Michael B. Jordan movie based in that same universe, not so much. And I don't know, man. This sucks, man. And look, I got no, unlike the majority of the people on the internet, I have no problem telling you when I'm wrong. So if for some miraculous reason Amazon is able to put out a Bond film that is gangbusters, and they cast the perfect James Bond, and the movie is good, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna tell you, boy, I was wrong. They nailed it. And then I will come back and say they fucked it up, because that's what's going to happen. They're gonna keep throwing shit at a wall to see what sticks, and then they're going to Assassin's Creed the Bond franchise.
This is going to turn into my fucking like Star Wars again for me. Like this is going to be the Disneyfication of the Star Wars franchise, which made me fall out of love with fucking Star Wars, because they decided to take everything that they had that existed prior. And again, I don't blame them for doing it. It's kind of impossible to inherit a series that has that much baggage and that much creative works around it and fucking hit the reset button. But I won't partake in any extended universe stuff now, because that's not my extended universe. Like, my extended universe was in all the books and shit that came out like in the 90s and 2000s and that sort of thing that I really enjoyed. I can't get invested in it again. And most of the movies that have come out since Disney took control of Star Wars have been fucking awful. And a lot of the TV properties have been awful, with a few exceptions. And that's what I feel like we're about to get with the James Bond universe, essentially, is just, the shitification of it. And I'm not looking forward to it. Put it to you that way.
I'm not. And, look, I didn't love every James Bond movie, right? Because, like, that's what people are gonna, that's what bootlickers are gonna say, right? Like, well, these movies, such and such movies didn't do well. So, because, like, even in the last era, the Craig era, right? He's got some duds.
Didn't No Time to Die like do over like close to $1 billion or stuff like that? Is that not good enough? Anymore?
That's all Amazon cares about.
Right.
$774.2 million for
are we in the age nowadays, like with video games, where like a James Bond movie doing $750 million is like a Squaresoft game selling like 5 million copies, and they're just like, oh, it didn't meet our sales expectations.
Didn't meet
like,
expectations.
Fuck you, dude.
Fire
like, sorry,
everybody.
Yeah, sorry that everything can't be Avengers Endgame and fucking do like $3 billion or whatever it is in the theaters.
But yeah, people are gonna say, "Oh well, it's time for some new blood," because like some of the movies weren't critical, smashes. I mean, look, I understand that, but at the same time, I would rather have a big swing and a miss than the same than bunting at every at bat. Like I don't know, man. Look, as bad as that Francis Ford Coppola movie was, the one with Adam Driver and
I call it Megalomania because I can't think of the actual name and it sounds more appropriate.
Yeah, as bad as that movie was, I will give it credit for trying something. And I got some sort of entertainment value out of seeing a guy whiff big time.
Especially a dude like Coppola just whiff as hard as you can possibly fucking whiff.
Look, we've seen it before. Like Scorsese took a big swing with The fucking Irishman, and that was a fucking dud. I mean, but it still felt like authentic, right? Like it still felt like this dude was trying to do his Scorsese thing. It just didn't pan out. Which is fine. As opposed
to like these Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man in it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like just a bunch of middling like, okay, I can see how some people might like it, but this is the same jokes, the same.
How the hell did Kraven the Hunter make more money than Megalopolis?
Because that's the thing, right? Like it's right somewhere in the meaty like middle, right? Where it's just like where you don't have to have a 3-digit IQ to enjoy this thing, right? Like it's they fighting
right, and there's some sunk cost feeling where like all the people that go to watch like the Spider-Man movies feel a connection with the universe. They feel like they have to watch every Spider-Man thing that comes out or every Marvel thing that comes out. So
yeah, I just I'm gonna miss it. It's gonna be something. You're gonna get you're gonna be like that. This is why people hated Batman v Superman. For people that don't understand why Batman v Superman is one of the myriad reasons why Batman v Superman stinks. Some suits in a room said, "What's the highest selling Superman comic?" The Death of Superman. What's the highest selling Batman comic? The Dark Knight Returns. Let's just put them together and make a movie. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Just there's no soul to it. You know what I mean? It's a product. It's a product, and I love movies, man. And they are more than just content. Like it's like we make content. You know what I mean? Like this is a 50-year-old franchise. Mm. This franchise has been around for half a century. Like it's a little more than just content. Right, more than that. Yeah. It's a little more than just content to me.
I mean, look on the bright side then, I guess. Like it is close to being in the public domain, so we might get some cool stuff anyway from just not from Amazon, so
or we'll get the bullshit that's in the public domain, like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Mickey Mouse, I'm a serial killer, or whatever the fuck it is now. So it's a sad day. It's going to be a very, very interesting time when we do another James Bond review. We're only reviewing movies. We're not reviewing TV shows.
No, I might not even watch TV shows depending on what the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm not required to watch that shit. So
yeah, I don't get paid for this.
Well, sorry,
even though Jay is supposed to pay us. But that's fine.
Well, sorry to depress everyone. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with video games on the Video Game Podcast. All right, let's talk about some games that we've been playing. Hades 2 had a big update drop. Carrie,
did.
tell us all about it.
So the Warsong update hit a few days ago, and it added a bunch of stuff, including the final boss of the surface. It's a lot. It's a big boss. I don't know if we want to get into spoiler territory.
No, not yet, because
okay.
I'm still waiting until I think I'm definitely waiting to 1.0 to actually dive deep into it. So.
I feel like you're missing out because it's great.
I'm plenty busy right now. and I'm about to be in 4 days.
I'm going to be right there with you. That's why I've been trying to play Hades 2 this week, man. So look, it's great. A lot of great stuff. Other big thing was new boons were added. Ares was added as a provider of boons. I believe one of the remaining, maybe the last Olympian from Hades 1, if I'm not mistaken. So he was added, and boy howdy, is his shit extremely overpowered. He is absolutely going to get nerfed in future patches. But yeah. But new location, new final boss, all of Ares' stuff, various other changes and additions as far as how the Nocturnal Arms function. A lot of additional art updated. The Arcana cards all have new art. Much of the Arcana has also been reworked. The Arcana is basically similar to how like the mirror in Hades 1 functioned, as far as like what kind of buffs you're leaving with that night, and you can unlock more of the Arcana as you get additional types of currency on various runs. Yeah, it rips a lot. I like this game a lot.
Do you think so? Do you think there's any more very large content updates coming, or do you think for now it's basically just polishing and getting assets and stuff like that?
I feel like we're in polish and balance mode, and then from there they're actually going to have the 1.0 update, which will allow you to actually finish the game, presumably, because you can fight either you go down to fight Kronos, or you go up to fight something else. So the problem, the issue with Kronos, the Titan of Time, is that as the Titan of Time, he can simply rewind time to his liking and reconstitute himself over and over and over again. So it's like, how do you truly kill time? So you got to figure all of that shit out, and they basically have not allowed you to do that yet. So it's at this point, I have completed both plenty of Chronos runs as well as surface runs at this point. So I feel like once 1.0 drops, I will be able to very quickly actually be able to roll credits. Or I might just start all over, who knows? But the axe remains my favorite weapon. For as much as they have nerfed it, they can take my spinny axe out of my cold, dead hands. I've been using a couple of the other weapons to less degrees of success. I'm very good with the axe, and they keep nerfing it, and I refuse to pick anything else. But yeah, Hades 2 is great. Absolutely, like, it's going to be game of the year on a million lists when it finally releases. Also, because I'm in a dedicated Hades cover band, believe me, we are already picking songs on the soundtrack to probably do at least 2 full-length albums. So yay, thank you Supergiant for giving me so much more to do with my Hades band. I gotta finish Hades, like the Hades 1 songs first. We're still working on Hades 1 stuff.
Even with what little bit I played, I can't wait for you to check this out once it fully releases.
Yeah, Micah, did you play Hades 1?
I played the crap out of Hades 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for the full game to come out for Hades 2. That's why I'm a little jealous of this, this Hades 2 talk. You're
It's really impressive that they like I said, even with what little I've seen, because I haven't even seen half of the game really, like it's really impressive that they basically took a game that was obviously not perfect, but like pretty damn close, and we're just like, hey, there's all these other ways we can make this even better, and you're like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, trust us. Like,
yeah,
it's
no,
cool.
trust
like
us.
I
and
was,
they did.
I was again, I remember when they announced it, like I said on here, I was a little disappointed because like Supergiant had never really done a sequel to anything, and I was just curious to see something new from them, instead of more Hades, but it's definitely not just more Hades. There's a lot going on.
It's such an expansion of the ideas. And what's funny is I have been doing Hades 1 runs as well, because of the fact that, like, here's the thing, right? So in case you missed it, last month my dedicated Hades cover band, Premium Vintage, performed on the main stage at MagFest. And ever since then, a lot of my friends who had not been playing Hades before are now playing Hades after seeing me do this live show. So a lot of my buddies in the VGM scene have basically been sharing, completed runs and records and whatnot, because the game is very good. They like when you complete a run, when you actually defeat Hades, it gives you the sort of rundown. It gives you like, here are your stats on this run kind of deal. And so all my friends were posting that, and I was like, let me see if I can still do this in Hades 1. And it's just getting clears, over and over again, and seeing if I could, keep up with my friends basically. And, going back to Hades 1 after playing a lot of Hades 2 as of late, it's interesting, and it's so easy to see sort of how they are expanding on certain ideas for Hades 2, not just in terms of gameplay, but in terms of story as well, in terms of, how the Olympians interact with each other and with the chthonic gods and all of that. So I think it's all very interesting. I think they've created just this wonderful little world based on, classic Greek and Roman mythology. And they are executing it so masterfully in Hades 2. And I can't wait for the full game to come out.
Look, there's nothing that you will sucker me in with more than taking a known pantheon and riffing on doing that. Like give me any pantheon that I have even a tangential familiarity with and create a story around it, using a lot of those tropes. That's why I love God of War so much when that game, when those games came out.
Yeah.
Like, it was very cool, taking, like I said, the Greek god pantheon and just turning it on its head. And using those stories. And again, I wish that they would fucking do that one day with the Christian pantheon, but they're all cowards, and
everybody's
we'll never do such
about
a thing.
A Christian pantheon.
We'll never do such a thing. So
the only here's the thing: the only series regularly riffing on the Christian pantheon is Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
More people should play Shin Megami Tensei accordingly. But
really should, man. Like it's really, like, because it's super, like, it's interesting, right? Like, but yeah, you're right. They'll never do it. But
cowards.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, they are.
Sorry, Christianity is the only religion that's immune from being cribbed. Except unless you're Kevin Smith, then you can do it. But other than that,
yeah.
So,
but yeah, Hades 2 real good. You know what else is real good? You can also play on Steam right now for free. It's Promise Mascot Agency, which is the latest game from Kaizen Gameworks, the developer behind one of my favorite games of all time, Paradise Killer. So I don't really know how to describe Promise Mascot Agency. They describe it as an open world mascot management crime drama, and that's true. It's got a little bit of Yakuza flavor. They actually got like the voice actor for Kiryu to voice the main character in Mascot Agency, which kind of rips. But yeah, so like all of the voice acting is in Japanese, in spite of the fact that this is like a European developer. But it's a Yakuza story, but it's also like this weirdo, wackadoo, like management, like town. town management sim almost. And it's got a little bit of Yakuza flavor. They actually got like the voice actor for Kiryu to voice the main character in Mascot Agency, which kind of rips. But yeah, so like all of the voice acting is in Japanese, in spite of the fact that this is like a European developer. But it's a Yakuza story, but it's also like this weirdo, wackadoo, like management, like town management sim almost. I like it a lot. I was already very invested just based on the fact that like it's the latest game from a developer I already like, and the music is done by this dude Alpha Chrome Yayo, who's a bit of a homie. He's also in the VGM scene. He's done a lot of covers. He also does a lot of very fun originals, but he's doing all of the music for PMA, and it rips. He's doing a great job. Can't wait for the soundtrack to release in full. Because if you like crazy oddball like Japanese synth noises and also like the funkiest bass riffs you've ever heard, then like that's what he's doing for Project Promise Mascot Agency. There's a demo out right now. It's on Steam. It's a time-based demo rather than like a level-based demo. So you have 80 minutes to basically just do whatever you want until time runs out. You can do the demo on Steam right now. I strongly recommend you try it out if you have any interest in games like Yakuza, or if you liked, Paradise Killer at all. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy. I think what Kaizen does best, I'm learning, is just like the freedom of movement within their little open worlds that they create. So in Paradise Killer, you were playing as Lady Love Dies, and she's this like immortal, like almost demigod kind of, individual. And so there's no fall damage. You can just like climb, and you unlock the ability to double jump to get certain places and dash and whatnot. And so there's this incredible freedom of movement where it's like, if you fall, if you like miss a jump, like you're fine. The only time that you're forced to respawn in Paradise Killer is if you land in the ocean. And then with Promise Mascot Agency, you're driving this like indestructible little like Japanese style truck. And the worst that happens is if you hit something too hard, the mascot sitting in the back of the truck just like screams. Like that's it. That's the worst that happens. There's no damage to the truck. You actually can unlock various upgrades to the truck, like being able to move better on water. And I think you can eventually unlock the ability to fly based on the trailers. So yeah, the freedom of movement, I think, is just very satisfying in Promise Mascot Agency. But yeah, look, it's an 80-minute demo. Can't recommend it enough. And please go check out Alpha Chrome Yayo's music as well. He also just released an album called, I think, Dream Chaser. That's like all original Eurobeat stuff, and it rips. That dude's a lot of fun. So
all right. For me, just kind of a drive-by impressions of a game that I finally got a chance to play a little bit that I had been intrigued by last year. So Capcom has been kind of on this kick lately where they release like one or two huge games every year, and then every year they also release like one weird game that they're not expecting to do gangbusters. A couple of years ago, that was Exoprimal, the dinosaur team-based shooter that kind of missed a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. Not enough to like for me to recommend somebody buy it, but if you had Game Pass, yeah, it was fun to play.
Yeah. And last year they released one in that, not in the Exoprimal vein, but just kind of in the weird, like, where did this game come from vein. This was the game that when it was shown, whenever it was shown off, I think it was at Summer Games Fest, that everyone thought was like the Onimusha game, and then turns out it wasn't. But this is Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, which is a bigger budget style of tower defense game, which tower defense games for me can be a little hit or miss. But the reason I like this one is because it combines tower defense with like character action combat, essentially. So the way the game kind of works is there's this malevolent presence in these Japanese villages, and the goddess is there, like goes to the different villages to purify them, to expel the evil presence, and you control kind of her like assistant who wields a sword and can like purify things in the environment. So kind of the gameplay loop is you go to a village, the game's on like a timer, so you have like a day-night cycle. And during the day, you can go around and purify things in the village so that you can rescue villagers. And then once you've rescued villagers, you can assign them classes, which you... And the villagers are basically what you set up as your kind of tower defense tropes. So you have like melee warriors and archers and, villagers that can provide debuffs, and you can assign different classes to them. And during the nighttime cycle, that's when the demons kind of come pouring out of the demon gate, and you and the villagers in conjunction have to fight them. The villagers, basically, you place them on the map, and they do their thing, and then your character you control freely and can hack and slash your way through all of the demons and things of that nature, while you keep the goddess safe. That's kind of your whole objective. And you also have to carve a path for the goddess from where she starts in the stage to the demon gate so that she can purify it, and that kind of cleanses the area. And then you go from that into an area where you have like a boss battle, and the boss battles are how you unlock the different classes. They also have like very light puzzle elements to them, like nothing too heavy at all, but you do have to be kind of cognizant using the mechanics in the game. It's done a good job of kind of like not overcomplicating things while still like being engaging enough that the gameplay isn't getting boring. I've done like 4 or 5 of the villages now in the game so far, and there's a whole lot of them to do. And of course, since this is like a character action combat game, there are like, you can beat the stage and that's fine, but then you can also like go back and beat it certain ways to get different unlocks and things of that nature as well. It's a cool little game. It's one of those things that like, if you're just kind of bereft of something new, but you want to play something new and check it out, Kunitsu-Gami is a real good one to check out, especially like on a sale, because it's just kind of different than anything else that's really out there. It's Capcom being super weird, which I enjoy that Capcom still will let developers make super weird games that they don't expect to sell like 5 million copies, and they're just happy like making a really solid product that people can come out. I think that this game also very intentionally kind of ties in with the Okami universe in some ways. They even have like a bundle on Steam that you can get and Okami HD for like a discounted price if you want to. So I think it's kind of leaning into that vibe as well. So I'm liking it. It's something that, I feel like I can come back and pick up and play because it's not too complex, but it still has enough complexity to not get stale very quickly. There's enough challenge in the game to kind of figure out how to manipulate it. So yeah, Kunitsu-Gami, cool game. I wish more big publishers would publish more weird stuff that they don't need to do gangbusters. But it's still really good. Also great visuals, great audio. Just a solid product, but just not something that's going to be a mass market game. So
okay.
Mike, anything for you? Did you start playing Pirate Yakuza yet, or are you still?
Yes, I did, and I don't know what else to say about this series that hasn't already been said. This is one of the. Well, I can say a couple things. This is one of the ones that is not an RPG. And not a turn-based RPG. Mm-hmm. So you have real-time button mashing style battles. You have 2 different styles. One that's really good for one-on-one encounters, and the swashbuckling pirate style, where you take out 2 cutlasses and you dual wield them and you just go crazy, and it's super fun. The story is ridiculous. Goro Majima winds up washed ashore on an island outside of Hawaii, and he doesn't remember anything. Mm-hmm. And he meets up with a child who befriends him, and he goes back to that kid's dad. That kid's dad is kind of a drunkard. With a heart of gold, right? And eventually they steal a pirate ship and they go out on pirate adventures, and with a child in tow. And it's got a little pet, tiger cub that walks around and fights with you. It's adorable if you like animals, but I don't, so I don't really find it
you can put a pirate hat on him, though.
You can put a pirate hat and a little eye patch on him. You can fuck up his vision by making one eye weaker than the other one. but it's a fun game. It's a Yakuza game. It's one of the spin-offs, so it doesn't feel like it's long, but all these games take a lot to kind of like there's a lot of reading in Yakuza games, and it takes a long time to kind of get in. Like I've only put like 6 hours into it, and I just made it to Hawaii, to Honolulu, the map that the previous that Infinite Wealth was based on. The one thing I don't like is the pirate ship stuff. I hate it. Pirate ships. I thought that I knew this. I knew this was here going in, but the steering a boat is not fun because it handles like a boat, and it's the boost doesn't go. You never feel like you're going as fast as you need to. You never feel you do ship to ship battles, and it just everything feels so sluggish, and it feels like a boat. So I guess like mission accomplished, but like that's not fun to me. But there's not a lot of it that I've kind of experienced yet. But that's my only knock on the game is all the boat stuff sucks. But for now, but like if you're a fan of this series, you probably already own it. So
That's probably true.
And I played a little bit of the City of the Wolves, the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves beta. And when it works well. But I won't get into like mechanics and stuff like that just because this was a beta just to kind of test the online infrastructure, so there's not like training or anything like that, or you can't like lab out combos or anything. It's just play some online matches, see how it works. Matchmaking is a problem. Like it just everything takes a long time. There's a lot of loading, and for a fighting game that stinks, right? Because you just want to like play, especially if you're like if you lose and you just kind of want to get back into it. You want to play, but matchmaking could take. Matchmaking, the longest matchmaking took me was maybe 90 seconds. And that's not good because you're looking at a black screen for 90 seconds, right? Like,
oh, no. They don't have anything, any like a background or anything
no,
like that?
Like you can't, like, there's nothing to do, right? And maybe that'll be, patched, or maybe that'll be like, normally if it'll hop to a training stage where you can practice while you're waiting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, and look, okay, maybe they'll put that in the final game. This is just a beta, just to see online, how the online works. What is not cool is the 5 seconds of black screen that you get between rounds. Like, hey, do your little happy celebration, and then 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and then round 2. That is unacceptable.
That's not cute.
Like, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
So I didn't play a lot of it just because, like, I don't know what it is. I'm getting older. I don't have the patience to just kind of sit there and wait for stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't play. I only played maybe like 4 matches. I was just getting annoyed. At 5 seconds here, 6 seconds here between rounds. Like, that's ridiculous. But the way the game feels, it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you more, when the game actually comes out. But this beta didn't deter me from getting the game. But they got some stuff they need to work on. And I got to figure out a character, man, because like, why is it that nobody likes charge characters, man? anybody that's a charge character or a traditional charge character is some sort of hybrid now, where it's
because very few people can play. They're not easy characters for casuals to pick up and play, just because of how timing based they are. I still have trouble playing charge characters because I never mained them coming up. So like I am sympathetic to folks that can't play them. It sucks that they don't really exist because of that anymore in a true sense.
Yeah, man. Like and when they do, they're not. I think they're kind of lame when they do. Like Blanca. Like I don't want to play Blanca or Honda. You know what I mean? Like the character that was traditionally not a guile type, but like he was a zoner that threw a lot of fireballs, and you can who charged to throw those fireballs and had a charging anti-air. He has the charging anti-air, but all of his fireballs are motion based, and it's like, all right, but at the same time, like I can't, and maybe it's just I've been playing Guile for longer than I've known Jay. Can you believe that? but I'm used to like sitting back, throwing booms, or launching myself if I'm Bison, and you don't know if a boom is coming out, you don't know if a flash kick is coming out. Like I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like I'm the only person ever that plays charge characters because I can never find one in a game that plays the way I want them to play. I guess I gotta, and look. I guess it's a me problem. I gotta adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm old.
I mean, it's not just that. I mean, it feels like there's very few chain characters anymore nowadays.
Yeah.
Like there's no true Fei Longs or Abels or stuff like that as much anymore.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway,
sign of the times.
That's my old man rant.
All right. Well, that is what we've been playing. We can take another quick break. When we come back, the news. All right. There's actually some things to talk about this week since we were off for an additional week here. First off, quick follow-up from a story we talked about a couple weeks ago. We had talked about the ridiculous decision by the PEGI ratings board in Europe to classify Balatro as an 18-plus game just because it contains poker in it.
Poker imagery.
Yes. And Local Thunk appealed this decision, fought it, and he won. It is now a PEGI 12 game for the same reasons, which is better than 18. Still kind of ridiculous that it's even that high, but I mean, that's okay. So.
I mean, roll it back at least.
Yeah.
Similarly, the slot machine themed Luck Be a Landlord was also downgraded via appeal by Fangamer. And apparently PEGI promises moving forward to develop a more granular set of classification criteria to handle gambling themes and the simulation, teaching, and glamorization of gambling within different age categories.
Yeah, Luck Be a Landlord's a slot machine roguelike, which is it's okay. Like I enjoy playing it for like 2 hours. But
sure. I mean, yeah, but also that also shouldn't be an 18-plus game just by nature of the fact that it has like a slot machine in it. Like, are they going to go back and reclassify the older Pokemon games, which also had slot machines in them? Like,
again, if you're going to, if FIFA gets a 3+ for having literal gambling in the game, then the least you could do is, properly classify games that just happen to be gambling adjacent without having gambling in them. So I'm glad they did that. Microsoft caused a mini freakout last week because they made this big announcement of a new platform called Muse, which according to them is a, quote, generative AI breakthrough designed to aid gameplay ideation. That's a lot of real corporate words in one sentence to throw out there. Now, people lost their shit about this because they kind of read that announcement as Microsoft saying, we are going to start looking at using generative AI to make video games. the things that they showed in demonstrating this platform is a couple of AI generated gameplay stills based on Bleeding Edge, the Melee multiplayer game that Ninja Theory released a few years ago. People were making fun of them that they didn't have large file images on the site because they probably looked like AI slop, as you would probably expect. And so people were just kind of like losing their shit about this. But it's not quite what people thought it would be. And this is from AI researcher and also a game designer, Dr. Michael Cook, who talked to Eurogamer. He's an expert on AI in video games. And he's also a senior lecturer at King's College in London and has spoken exhaustively about AI. And he explains what this platform is as basically like Microsoft is able to feed this system gameplay footage of people playing a game that already exists. And then potentially the AI can then, like, based on what it observes the players doing, generate gameplay based on what it thinks players could possibly do from there, essentially.
Right. Or, I think the example that they used in that Cook had provided was like, okay, well, let's say if we add a feature to this level that wasn't there previously, like a jump pad in this particular area, how would that influence gameplay and how would that influence how players approach this level at this particular point in time? So it's not actually doing any generative development. Like the jump pad would still have to be programmed in by an actual person, but it's more about trying to learn and predict, like, oh, if we make changes to this level, if we add this kind of feature into this kind of game, how is this going to influence like how that kind of gameplay is, played out. So it's more about giving a development team the tool to make a change or not make that change based on, predictive kind of technology, based on, again, a shit ton of gameplay footage that has been fed into it already.
Yeah. It almost sounds like it almost sounds like Microsoft's trying to find a way to get around like blind playtests of games in development, like try to figure out like, hey, like if we have this section in a game set up, right? Like, will it be intuitive enough for players to figure out like where to go or what to do or how to bypass this obstacle? Because we've seen many examples of game design throughout history of game developers not doing a good job of like mapping out things in the environment or, making it obvious like how to approach certain situations in the game and players like getting stuck. And that's something that can sometimes persist past game development. But what Dr. Cook says is that like even with this like limited scope, it's still not incredibly practical. He says it's impressive that it can do this using visual information because of things like lighting and camera angles and user interface are a lot for an AI model to handle. But ultimately, even with all this data, all the time spent annotating data sets and so on, it was still only just about able to generate footage predicting player behavior. And it's just very expensive and very resource intensive to be able to just do this, essentially. And so it seems like Microsoft is continuing to fall into the trap that every company does, where they have investors that want to hear about the latest and greatest and make sure that they're keeping up with the bleeding edge and the trends that investors think are going to push the industry forward. And as we've talked about on the show before, that trend right now all around the world in the tech industry is generative AI and what can you do with it to make to like future proof your output and your products. Very silly.
Yeah.
Very silly. Phil Spencer also said something about how this could be like an AI model could learn how to basically make like learn old games so that they can make them portable to other platform. We're like essentially like saying like, oh, like AI could be a huge step forward for game preservation. Like even if you don't have like a hard copy of this game, like the AI could watch the game and then like could basically make an amalgamation that's playable or something like that. And Cook also calls this fucking ridiculous quote. This is absolutely not a solution for game preservation. What does it mean to preserve a gameplay experience? Even if this model was a perfect replication of the original executable software, this is not the be-all and end-all of game preservation. A generative model of what game footage maybe looked like once might be a nice curio on the side of a real preservation process, but it is always going to be inferior to other ways that we approach the problem. So, yes, I do hope that companies don't see AI as a shortcut to preserve games that no longer exist. But
yeah, that doesn't even. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. You're not preserving it. You're trying to recreate a facsimile.
Quite literally, yeah, quite literally. Yeah. It's not preservation. Yeah.
God damn it.
I hate this.
We are barreling. I mean, barreling to the cyberpunk future that I've always read about and dreaded happening. I thought that stuff like this would happen. You know how in the 80s the future was like 2000, right? I feel and like what 2000 looked like in 1980s future. Like
this is what 2000 actually looks like.
Right. Like I feel like we're barreling down to, Mega City 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're getting there way faster. Like I don't want to live in a dystopian cyberpunk future in my lifetime or my children's lifetime.
I feel like we're already kind of there, if I'm being honest.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna put a tax on lumber. Well, where you gonna get the lumber from, bro? You're gonna cut down all the trees in America?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Real good place to build office buildings and stuff like that. To return to work.
Damn it.
Good times.
What the fuck?
Better news. Sony had a state of play a couple weeks ago. Yes, we have been off since that happened. We have not gotten a chance to talk about it yet. And they showed some things of note, I would say. To me, the biggest of note was the surprise announcement of Saros, which is a new game coming from Housemarque, the developers of Returnal. And at least from the teaser that they showed, this might be kind of a, not Returnal 2, but like an evolution of...
I would qualify it as like a pseudo sequel.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if it takes place within the same universe. But clearly is a different situation. But yes, Saros 2026 looks like a release. So
yep. Metal Gear Solid Delta is coming out on August 25th. Konami also confirmed that Snake
August
vs. Monkey.
28th.
Oh, August 28th, yes. Konami also confirmed that Snake vs. Monkey, which was a bonus mode in Metal Gear Solid 3, is making its return to this game.
Where Snake, I think they also said like a Bomberman crossover.
It's Snake versus Monkey on PlayStation, and then on other platforms, yes, Snake will be trying to capture Bomberman because obviously Ape Escape is a Sony franchise, so that's going to remain exclusive to them. I gotta tell you, I wasn't like super stoked about Delta. I'm kind of getting the itch again to maybe check it out. So we'll see.
I was waiting for that.
We'll see.
I never finished that game.
You never finished 3
You
at
never
all?
Finished Snake Eater?
I never finished it.
You probably brought this up when we reviewed it, but I'm still surprised. I don't remember that. So
I watched someone. You remember that security guard who used to work at the gallery?
Yeah.
Briggs or whatever his name was. He had like whatever Uber edition of.
They had a supercut version that didn't. I don't think it officially released in the U.S. But yes, they basically had Metal Gear Solid 3, the movie, on there that you could just watch a cinematically cut version of Metal Gear Solid 3 with gameplay.
With gameplay to
Yeah.
Yeah, to get you from one cutscene to the next. That's how I know about that story. I watched that movie. Like I never finished it.
I mean,
so maybe I'll finish it.
So from a total package standpoint, I think it's still the best one. Metal Gear Solid 1 is still number one in my heart. But as far as the combination of gameplay, story, characters, I think 3 is probably the best. Though I gotta say, ever since we reviewed 2, and I've been forced to revisit it, 2 has shined up quite a bit since it came out. Just because Kojima was absolutely correct about everything that we would experience over the next 25 years.
Look, I me of all people, I did not want that game. I do not want to give that man credit. People call him a genius. I think people throw that around way too much. But Kojima is prescient, if nothing else.
Yes. Borderlands 3 is coming out on September 23rd. I got to tell you,
Did you do that on purpose?
4.
No,
that was a Freudian slip. Is probably what that was. A Freudian slip. Yeah, I've not been less excited about a Borderlands game since I became a fan of the franchise. I will say. Oh. I think I might have had enough Borderlands. I think I might be good.
I feel like a lot of people had enough Borderlands, and I feel like the film was the final nail in the coffin for a lot of this.
Like, you do realize, like, Borderlands 3 was the highest selling game in that franchise. I don't know how much it did, but I think it was over, like, 6 or 7 million copies sold, if you can believe it.
Wow.
So, like, there's still definitely an appetite for them out there.
Yeah, I know someone. I was just talking with one of my friends the other day. She was like, I just can't wait for Borderlands 4. And I'm like, what? Huh? And she was like, yeah, I just really want to play a game like that, right? And she was like, I want the feeling that Borderlands 2 gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, hey, vaya con Dios, man. Like I'm rooting for you, but I'm out. Because I've aged out of the humor.
By 2023, Borderlands 3 sold more than 18 million.
Wow, I was way off. Holy shit!
Yeah, it sold. It shipped within the first week of release. It shipped. It sold 5 million.
Wow.
So it was 5 like right away when that game released. But yeah, 18 million all time.
Okay. All right. So watch this come out and people be like, "Oh my god!" Like it completely reinvents the Borderlands franchise. Like,
right? Watch it just like
we're so fucking back. Rip. The humor's actually better because they actually have like Xavier Nelson Jr., who is did like the writer on El Paso Elsewhere and a lot of other things. Is one of the writers they contracted to write on the game. So hopefully less toilet humor.
I mean, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be good. I always want games to be good, but I still haven't really. Borderlands was never for me in the first place. So,
Onimusha: Way of the Sword is coming out next year, but they are also didn't they announce that they were doing Onimusha 2 remastered?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Onimusha 2 is just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gotta milk it while the name is back out there.
Absolutely. Yep. Somehow we're getting a Days Gone HD next generation up-res thing. So
with VR support.
Will that placate the creator of Days Gone?
No.
Probably not. Well, probably not. No. Leslie Benzies gets a like his new game. Leslie Benzies is one of the former Rockstar GTA leads who spun off and did his own studio. Has a game coming out called Mind's Eye, which I mean it looks ambitious. I would just say go watch the trailer, see if this is something that interests you, and check that out if that's curious. There's a new Sonic Racing game coming out.
It actually looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Yeah, and that'll be for all platforms. But the big thing that they were, of course, focusing on in the trailer is the fact that like you go through portals and like you basically go between levels.
Mm-hmm.
So like the level that you're on will like change midway through if you like go through one of these portals, basically. Also, some people were very quick to point out that like the official description does not just say this is a Sonic. Like it's called Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, but the official description seems to imply that this is going to be more of a Sega Superstars cast.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we see the return of some other like Sega characters to this,
and maybe some new ones. What if you get some SMT characters and Persona characters?
That would rip, honestly.
Can I ask the stupid question?
Sure.
Yes.
Why is the fastest creature in the universe driving a car?
Why? Because he wants to.
Maybe it's
Because
maybe it's like a Flintstones car where he's actually like powering it with his feet. It's not like engine powered.
Right. It's just him spinning real quick.
It's just like Spider-Man having a Doom buggy, guys.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man
Spider-Man
having a giant transformable robot.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe it's
you
to
gave
level,
me a reason.
It's to level the playing field. Maybe that's the reason he's doing it. Just for the sake of competition. So
hey, look, I'll take it.
We are getting a new 2D Shinobi game called Art of Vengeance, which is being developed by Lizard Cube, who are the developers of the excellent Streets of Rage 4. Seriously, if you guys are side-scrolling beat-em-up fans, you should definitely check out Streets of Rage 4. If you haven't, Terrence vehemently endorses the game. Loves Streets of Rage 4. And I would expect this is going to be great as well. They've been putting out some good stuff, Lizard Cube has. What else we got here of note?
Digimon.
Oh, yeah. Digimon.
I gotta talk about Digimon. We're finally getting another Digimon story game, and it was the most exciting thing for me personally in this presentation. Digimon Story Time Stranger will be releasing sometime this year. I've talked extensively about how much I loved the Cyber Sleuth duology on this podcast, and I'll talk about it some more. It's great. Please play it. It is always on sale. They bundle the games together of Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory. They bundled those games together on Steam and Switch and whatnot, and it's frequently on sale for like $8. Please play them. They're both very good. So I'm looking forward to more Digimon story games because Digimon World Lost Order was fine. Mm-hmm. And Survive was fine, but the story games are great. So hopefully we'll go back to like some really good Digimon games. I'm going to play the shit out of this.
Something I was intrigued by, a new game from the Pixel Junk developers. I used to love the Pixel Junk games when they were around, especially in the PS3 era, called Dreams of Another. Basically, this game has you going around like an impressionist art, like world, and it's like voxel based, so like very like cube and block based kind of like is how everything is built, and you walk around with like an AK-47 like destroying things. It looks bizarre, but again, I've been a longtime fan of the Pixel Junk series of games, so I will be very curious to see what this is that comes out. And lastly, there's a new game from Supermassive, who are the like horror Until Dawn developers, called Directive 8020, which is coming out in October, which basically is like a spaceship theme version of their typical frights and scares. So into those.
Really, really digging into the question that's definitely never been asked before of what if space was spooky? Yeah.
I've heard that the thing that's scariest about space is that no one can hear you scream. So like that's the part that's and also there's an alien that can transform into characters. Like you might even call it like a thing of some kind. So like you never know what could happen.
Might there be an imposter among us in space?
So, but I've heard these games typically hit for people that are fans of that particular thing. So, there's that.
I want to play these games, but I feel like, because they're like interactive movies, right? But I feel like, once I play it, I've played it.
Well, it's kind of like Heavy Rain in that like different, like you have an impact on the story, like based on things you do or don't do. Like certain characters will die or not die, so like it is a little bit different in that sense.
I meyou comparing something to Heavy Rain is not
just the first thing. It's funny that I brought up Heavy Rain purely by accident, because that kind of ties into the next story. So the other big news that dropped in the past week or so is a news story that got really overblown, including by me. When I first laid eyes on it, we came to find out that it wasn't quite as crazy as we first heard. But then further news came out that were like, oh, maybe this is actually a lot worse than people anticipated. So Chinese publisher NetEase, one of the biggest studios currently out there right now, has a lot of developers under his tent, laid off several employees that worked on Marvel Rivals, the uber successful Marvel-themed Overwatch clone that is making a shitload of money right now. There was a tweet that came out from folks that were at the studio based in Seattle that helped support the game. People thought at first that like they had laid off like the director of the game. Turns out that was not necessarily the case. They laid off about I want to say like half a dozen to a dozen people that were involved in like North American support for the studio, but weren't like the main developers of the game. Like no one that was on the main development crew was laid off. Not that that excuses anything, but because the game is like printing money right now. But people thought that like they were like killing the golden goose. It's like, oh, okay, they actually laid off some support folks. But kind of led to some interesting news about NetEase, and it seems like NetEase like was casting a wide net, bringing in a lot of studios under their umbrella, and now that the industry has been rocky, it's not been immune from China as well, even though China is an area of the world that is seeing a lot of growth in the gaming industry. They are actually reportedly going to be laying off a lot of folks behind other foreign for China studios, including some very notable studios like Grasshopper Studios, which is Suda51's studio, and Quantic Dream, who we just talked about. We referenced Heavy Rain. We might be seeing layoffs there as well. It's also invested in Leslie Benzi's new studio, who not only has the game that we talked about during the last story, but is also coming out with a game called Build a Rocket Boy. Or no, sorry, Build a Rocket Boy is his studio. He's also coming out with another game that's supposed to be like Dreams-esque, like a Media Molecule type thing, that they're working on as well. So here's a list of studios that they own, and again, all of these are apparently on the table. They have NetEase Montreal, which is the former creator of Watch Dogs, running that studio. Nagoshi Studio, who has Toshihiro Nagoshi that runs that. Studio Flare, who has the former producer of the BlazBlue franchise. Jackalope Games, which did City of Heroes and DC Universe Online once upon a time. And a few others as well. Those are kind of like the notable ones. But it seems like they might be looking to divest from studios that are outside of China as much as possible, just to kind of lower their overall footprint. Which, again, we haven't covered layoffs as much, even though they still continued, because you can only say like the same thing so many times. Not to say it's not important, but we just can't have the same fucking stories every week. But what this does look like is that it looks like that survive till 25 was not necessarily the winning message that we all thought it might have been for the games industry. That it seems like there's still a lot of pain to come.
Shit sucks, man.
I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon.
Yep.
It's just the climate that, I mean, I don't know about the world, but it's certainly the climate that the U.S. is in right now.
Yep.
it sucks, man. It sucks. I don't know what else to tell you. I hope people. I don't wish this on anybody.
Yep.
So.
And final bit of surprising news. So Niantic, who is the developer, of course, of Pokemon Go and Monster Hunter Now, among other games, but those are definitely the two big ones, is looking to sell their gaming portfolio, because Niantic does stuff besides games as well, to a company called Scopely. If you've never heard of Scopely, that's okay. I certainly have not either. But Scopely is owned by the Savvy Games Group, which is the Saudi government's way to doctor up their investments in gaming, essentially. So basically, Niantic is looking to possibly sell Pokemon Go and Monster Hunter Now to the government of Saudi Arabia, which is the only way to put that. Now, before people freak out about that, I've been quite critical about Saudi Arabia's constant efforts to whitewash their terrible human rights violations as they've looked to divest their country's wealth into areas besides petrol fuels, as the world moves away from being super reliant on fossil fuels. But I also think that Saudi Arabia, with these investments, is looking to just make money. So I wouldn't think that you would see a huge impact on like the output of these two games, both of which are hugely beloved and still very popular to this day. But I just bring it up so that people are aware that that's happening.
Yep.
So, get your politics out of my video games, Micah.
It's almost like the stuff is everywhere, and you have to kind of pay attention to it. Otherwise, you get to live in Mega City 1. It's not something you want.
So we'll take one last break here now that we're done with the news, and we'll be right back with the Dense Pixels post office. As usual, if you are not a member of our Discord, you can sign up by going to densepixels.com/fans. One of the perks that you can get access to the Dense Pixels post office, where you can ask us questions that we answer on the show every week, just like C. Kent did, who says, I've recently gotten into flight sims and spent way too much money. What's the most you've spent to get started in a hobby?
Get started?
I'm about to say, you're asking two of the wrong people that question.
Yeah.
God, which hobby? Like, there's so many.
Right.
I take photographs on this camera that you're looking at now, and anyone who's ever bought a camera, even for like amateur photography, it's a lot of money. And I'm looking to offload one. If you're interested in a Sony APS-C, hit me up. It's a Sony A6100. I'm trying to get rid of it because I got this, and yeah, I don't want to fall too much into what they call gear acquisition syndrome.
Brother, you don't got to talk to me about fucking gas, man. Like, it is the bane of every musician's...
Never mind. All three of us are in this terrible boat together.
Right? Like, you know.
How many bass guitars do you own right now?
Man, here's the thing. Here's the thing about my guitars. I have 4 basses. I have 3 guitars. For what it's worth, I did not buy any of the guitars. Here's the thing. My father has the worst gear acquisition syndrome because he will just go to guitar shows and then will just buy something for himself, even though he doesn't need it. He doesn't gig out. He's 75. He's not gigging, but like he'll just buy stuff because he'll be like, oh, this is a fun guitar. I've got it on a good deal. And then like a decade will pass and he'll be like, I don't play this. Do you want it? And that's how I have all 3 of my guitars. Is my dad just like finding things on a deal and then giving them to me. So I do have a very nice Strat though. So in terms of guitars, this isn't something I bought to get started in a hobby, but I did buy a bass that was a very particular way for premium vintage because I wanted a fancy 5-string. So I spent, hold on, I think I still have my receipt on my Kiesel. I spent $2,623 United States real money bucks on my custom purple color shift Kiesel. So I would say that's the most amount I've spent on like one thing and one hobby, but that's completely discounting. That is completely discounting like all the cosplay shit that I used to do. Like that's also hella expensive. That's many, many, many years of spending many hundreds of dollars. So look, I've always had expensive hobbies. The more that I got into doing music though, I kind of stopped doing cosplay because I was already not really getting a lot of fulfillment out of cosplay, and I can only have one stupid expensive hobby at a time, and I chose mine to be music. So
I'm gonna take C. Kent's question at its literal wording, and talk about how much I've spent to get started in a hobby. Because if I think about how much I spent on, well, first of all, let's not forget that all three of us, video games technically a hobby. Like how many tens of thousands of dollars have we spent over the years on gaming stuff? Number one, but. Like if I had to sit there and figure out like how much I spent on like tabletop games over the course of my adult life, that would probably put me in a great big depression. So I'm not going to do that. And that wasn't a hobby that I spent a ton of money to start in. Android Netrunner actually maybe. Like Android Netrunner specifically was kind of like my gateway to modern tabletop games, and that was several $100s. That's on there. Even with watches, wristwatches, a lot of people that listen know that I am a wristwatch aficionado. Didn't spend a lot of money first. I've also been pretty good about watches because I tend to flip a lot of watches as well. So like my total expenditure is not as bad as you would think it might be because I've sold a lot as well. And then sim racing, like to get started in sim racing, like, and again, I just do it for fun. Like, I don't even race competitively or anything like that. So, like, I'm just, doing it for shits and goods. I mean, close to $1,000 between like the cockpit, and the race wheel pedals, like, and all that jazz. Yeah, probably around there. So for Seekent specifically, talking about like buying flight sim peripherals, which is kind of like adjacent to sim racing, like a lot of overlap in those two crowds, I'll tell you. I sympathize with how much money it takes to get your fucking HOTAS and all that shit so you can play flight simulator as accurately as possible. I get it. And then he also asks, what is your most memorable revenge story in gaming? And for Micah, I think it might be the one that went unfinished, that he talks about often on this show.
You'll have to refresh my memory. I can't.
A specific Dreamcast series, perhaps, that you were quite fond of that went had an unresolved denouement. Even when a third game came out, it still did not resolve the franchise.
That man, fucking Shenmue, yo. I don't know what happened with it, man. Like, I just want to find the guy to kill my dad, yo. Like, is that so hard?
Yes.
Then he just kind of got over it, yo. Just kind of got over it. And I mean, look, maybe that's realistic, but like,
I was gonna say maybe that is the best revenge, right? Is living well in spite of the circumstances.
Okay, living well is not moving boxes, moving freight with a forklift. That is not living well, man. That is menial. That is work, man. And that, look, ain't nothing wrong with work, but come on, man. Like go back and find Londi, yo. Londi probably died of old age. Like, when is this guy gonna kill me, man? I don't know, man. Yeah, that stinks.
trying to think of what of like revenge stories, right? Because like Metal Gear Solid 3 comes to mind, but I wouldn't classify that as a revenge story. Like Snake is fulfilling his mission, going after the boss. So it's not necessarily a revenge tale of sorts. Sleeping Dogs isn't bad in that regard.
Sleeping Dogs isn't really a revenge.
No.
Story.
No, that's undercover
Fallout
cop.
New Vegas.
Great game.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas. That
Fallout
makes
New
sense.
Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, but generally speaking, like I think that's a good one. I'm a big fan of the many different ways in which you can kill Benny once you track him down at the at the casino.
I'm seeing people like God of War. Like, nah, yo, no, that's on Kratos, yo. Like, that shit is on Kratos.
He fucked up.
Yeah, he fucked up, yo. He fucking knew he was about to lose a fight. He started praying to his maker, like, "Oh Lord, help me, please, please, please." And then the wrong one was like, "All right, bam, go ahead, kill him." And now, nah, yo, nah. You should learn how to fight.
Yeah.
You should have been able to kill that barbarian, and you wouldn't have had to beg the God of War to help you.
What else we got here? I mean, Mike and I are not really big fans of Dishonored. Like, that's one that people like to talk about.
Yeah.
Same with Red Dead Redemption. We're not really into that too much. Though the end of Red Dead Redemption, pretty good revenge moment, from my understanding. So that's one to consider. Yeah, it's weirdly, revenge, like, not a great motivating factor, because as the old adage goes, if you set off on a tale for revenge, you best dig 2 graves before you go. So Kill Bill, probably the best revenge story that I could think of. Just
yeah, that's a good
stories.
one.
So, not just gaming related.
Yeah.
Jamal asks, what is the worst gaming accessory you've owned and why?
Circle Pad Pro for the 3DS. Without question. I bought that thing and like nothing used it. I bought it because I wanted to play Kid Icarus Uprising with it, because I figured, because that's what they really pushed it for at the time. I guess it was that and like Snake Eater 3D. Yeah, Circle Pad Pro, which if you recall, if you remember the original 3DS, it added a second circle pad, so you could have like a second joystick. And it, like, 5 games used it, including, I bought it for Kid Icarus Uprising, which not even a good game, not even remotely a good game. Yeah, complete waste of time, complete fucking waste of effort. Circle Pad Pro, easy.
I totally forgot about the Circle Pad Pro.
Yeah, because it's not worth remembering.
Yeah. and then somehow they replaced that with a nub on the new 3DS.
On the new 3DS, I do have that.
When I was very young,
what kind of life do I live there? I have a new 3DS within arm's reach. Yeah, the nub.
I'm jealous because those games don't emulate super well, and I kind of wish that I.
No, they don't. I am glad that I have this. Yeah, plus, the faceplate that I have for it is apparently extremely rare.
Oh, you have like a new 3DS, not even a 3DS XL.
I have a 3DS XL as well.
Yeah,
I
always wanted the new 3DS, but they never actually sold it here except for a couple special editions.
I bought this. This was so I have a different faceplate on it than what it came with. So this faceplate in particular, if you're watching on YouTube, it's the one with all the original like Gen 1 Pokemon sprites on it. But so this is the one that they did for like the 20th anniversary of Pokemon. So it came with the interchangeable Charizard and Blastoise faceplates. And then I found like this faceplate. I was like, cool, I think I paid $15 for it. And these faceplates sell for so much money. I should just sell it. I would rather just have $300 on these faceplates. I can find other new 3DS faceplates for $10. Who gives a shit? But yeah, so I bought that, and like I never really played it that much. It's in great condition, and it's basically brand new. But yeah, I also have the Link Between Worlds XL, which is really nice, honestly. So,
when I was a lad, I had there's a baseball bat controller for the Super NES, and this was before the days of like motion controls and stuff like that. And it was real bad. But somehow I fooled myself into thinking that it was great, and I played Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball.
The batter up?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
The batter up, which I bought from Toys R Us. I remember we bought it at the Toys R Us in Owings Mills, along with Illusion of Gaia.
Rest in peace.
Along with Illusion of Gaia. We went to Sizzler for lunch after that. I don't know why I distinctly remember this day. Probably because I got...
Here's the thing, the Sizzler was like right next to the Toys R Us, though.
Yeah, but that's...
I spent many evenings at that Sizzler.
Well, I probably remember it because I got Illusion of Gaia, which I love Illusion of Gaia. Illusion of Gaia is a fantastic game. The batter up baseball bat peripheral for SNES, not as much, because when it was all fine and good when you were batting, it worked like 50% of the time. It worked every time, but then when you had to then play the field, like it had a little like a shittily mapped controller buttons on the bat barrel itself, so you had to hold the bat.
I just dropped an image of it in our group chat. Yeah,
the thing was fucking awful.
And it worked with the Genesis too.
They had a Genesis version. Okay. You'll be shocked to learn that they weren't cross compatible. Also, I have to tell you, having a baseball bat controller corded, not ideal for swinging.
Not great.
Just in general. So, if anyone has the option to get the batter up for 16-bit consoles, I would recommend that you do not. I mean, it's not very good.
If I see one, I'm gonna get it because I have a Genesis and I have an SNES in the house, and I feel like
I have to imagine that it was worse. What was that Genesis octagonal motion? Like motion control pad sort of thing that they had. I think it was the Menacer, or was that the light gun that came out for the Genesis? Which one was that?
That was the light gun. Was the Menacer?
So what was the Sega Genesis? Micah, what is yours while I'm trying to find this thing?
The Activator?
Yes, the Activator is what I'm thinking of. Yep.
Oh gosh. What the fuck is this thing?
It's some bullshit. It's what it is.
I don't know if I don't know if I can narrow it down, man. Like literally any Game Boy accessory.
Oh man, don't hate on the Wormlight, man. That got me through so many long car rides.
Oh, that's cute. A Wormlight. Oh, Carrie, back in the day, Mike and I had to have the folding magnifying lamp over the game.
Yeah, I know that thing. Yeah.
With the speakers that came out.
Yeah.
I'm big balling now. Good Lord. You know what? I had a Power Glove.
Oh man.
Overrated.
It wasn't.
It
wasn't so bad
for that movie.
It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. That's why I bought it, because I saw that movie and I was like, it's so bad, and it's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, that was overrated, man. I didn't really care for the Power Glove.
Yeah, the Activator Carry was literally.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, motion controller, a floor motion controller for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
That literally worked like a D-pad, basically. Had a little camera that hung.
The marketing apparently implied that it was similar to a free-range motion capture device, with commercials showing players performing martial arts moves in the ring and seeing them translated in-game. That's not how it actually works.
Not at all. Not at all. Very, very analog age, very digital age, I should say, back for motion controls before we actually had real motion controls. Finally, Johnny asks a question specifically for Carrie. Any last-minute hopes or predictions for Pokemon Day, signed an old-ass Gen 1-er?
I think we are more than likely going to see actual gameplay footage of Pokemon Legends ZA. I think we're going to get a full actual gameplay trailer on that. I feel like that's a reasonable expectation to have. Otherwise, my predictions are there's going to be a bunch of stupid mobile games. There's going to be here's some update for Pokemon Go, Pokemon Cafe Mix, Pokemon Sleep. probably a look at Pokemon TCG Pocket, all of the mobile games, right? They always do that. My hope is that maybe they'll stick more Pokemon music on the Pokemon Nintendo Music app, because for me that would be a big deal, because the Nintendo Music app, if anything lands on that opens it up for licensing for covers. So like when Golden Sun hit a few weeks ago, that was a huge deal, because that meant that Golden Sun in its entirety was licensable for the first time. Not that stopped me from covering Golden Sun previously, but it means that, I'm legally protected if I decide to put something out now, if I license it properly. So I think my long shot predictions, my long shot hopes are maybe we get an officially translated version of Pokemon TCG2 released on Switch Online. It's like the one Pokemon game that's like never received an official English translation. There's a fan translation, but I hope that in the same way that they put out Star Fox 2 in that way, after that had been just sort of like abandoned for a long time, I hope that they do that with TCG2. Especially given how popular TCG Pocket is right now. I feel like that would make a lot of sense for them to do. Would maybe be to put the TCG 1, which has been out since 2000, and then maybe TCG 2 on Switch Online in celebration of the success of TCG Pocket. Who knows? And then I would also really like to see, I still want to see a Johto remake in the Let's Go style. I really liked Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think it would be really nice for them to do a Johto revisit with the Let's Go style gameplay. So
you think Let's Go Johto is more likely, or Gen 5 remake announcement more likely? So
I think if we're getting a Gen 5 remake, it's going to be in the exact same style as the Gen 4 remake.
Yeah. Are you surprised that I know which Pokemon generation is Gen 5?
No, because you and I worked at GameStop at the same time.
That's true.
We worked that release, I think, together.
Gen 5, the only Pokemon game that I have beaten to this day.
Ooh, so. Yeah. I think a Gen 5 remake would be like a lot of folks' kind of long shot hope, but me personally, I would like a Johto revisit. So I don't know which one is more likely, truthfully. So
cool. All right. Well, it's a supersized show for you guys. Sorry we missed last week. We will also be off next week because I will be on assignment. So we will have to catch you guys in a couple where Carrie and I'm sure, will have much to say about Monster Hunter Wilds, which is coming out this Friday.
It comes out. Here's the thing: it comes out literally while I'm out of town, so I won't get to play it. Until
I will get to play it for a couple days, and then I too will miss it because apparently, according to reviews, it runs like dog shit on Steam Deck. So I probably will be playing Civilization while I'm on the road, and then I'll have to come back to Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'll be playing it on PS5 when it does come out.
Yeah, when I'm back in town.
But quick side note before we wrap up, if you happen to be in the greater Nashville area and you're listening, I'm playing a show on Saturday in Clarksville, Tennessee.
You and I will literally just miss each other.
Yeah, I'll be in Tennessee from this Thursday through Sunday. My plan was just to visit my dad and introduce my boyfriend to Nashville hot chicken, maybe tour the Opry, and then my dad basically was like, what if you did a show? And so now we're doing a show. So come see us with the Mad Gear at Wicked Good Sandwiches in Clarksville, Tennessee. $10 at the door Saturday night.
I get in on Sunday. Sorry.
Boo!
Sorry about that.
Maybe we'll see each other at the airport.
No, I literally get in on Sunday night unless you're flying back late Sunday evening. So
we're flying back at like 5:30. So
you'll miss me. I don't get until later that night. So that's funny that you and I are going to be in the same town, just at complete different times. So for very different reasons.
Very different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got that to look forward to coming up. I also I'm not promising this, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I have the hankering. I have the hankering to stream some Civilization.
Ew.
For some reason. To look at it as all, well, because I've had enough people ask me like man, like I'd love to get into Civ, but like Micah said it, I've had a couple, talked to a couple listeners who thought, I'd like to Civ, but I can't really get into it. And I feel like that, like, kind of just streaming it and explaining like what's going on would be a good way for people to maybe approach the Civilization franchise. So we'll see. No commitment to that, but I've been thinking about it a lot. So we might dust off the old Twitch account and also post that on YouTube if I do that as well. So. So maybe look out for that. I'll surely let you know, at least in the Discord, if that's something that's going to happen. If you're not a part of that Discord, as I mentioned before, densepixels.com/fans, you can join today. You can also check us out on YouTube by going to youtube.com/densepixels. Usually you just get this show posted in video format every week. But again, if we decide to stream anything, it'll go up there as well. So you can look out for those things. Of course, if you'd rather do the podcast thing, you just search for TNP Studios. You'll find us. You'll find Their Apocalypse. You'll find Black and Black Cinema. You'll find the Look Forward Political Podcast. And if you really want to show us the love and throw a couple bucks our way, it's just $5 a month to go to densepixels.com/premium. That'll get you access to the Look Forward Political Podcast, the full version. We only release an hour for free every week, and we have a lot more insane things to say behind the paywall, typically. So always well worth it. And plus you're also, telling us with a couple greenbacks that you like what we're doing over here at TNP Studios, which we really appreciate. So that is it for us. See you all in a couple weeks. Thank you all very much for watching and listening. Bye-bye.
See ya.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.